my friends. Well, that feels good, doesn't it? The old 10% day on AMC feels pretty freaking good. Just like I tell any of my students or any of my kiddos that train underneath me, anytime you have an awesome moment or you hit a goal, the first thing you should always do is celebrate. So, if you didn't paper hand this bad boy over the last realistically 2 months of just getting our teeth kicked in on this bad boy, then I salute you. I applaud you. That's awesome. We deserved a day like this. Okay. Now, just like I tell them, is as soon as you celebrate, then you immediately need to set a new goal. Don't be the person who talked about how great they were 10 years ago. Always be pursuing that next better version of yourself. So, having said that, let's take a look at what we need to do as far as work goes and kind of just what to anticipate. And kind of, like I always tell you guys, every single day, every single moment, the chart gives us more information. And we need to take that information and go, okay, so because this happened, what's the most plausible outlook from here? Always the Twitter plug. If you don't follow me on Twitter already, please do so. Colin_Gladman. Guys, I'm getting to the point with my Twitter follower account. When I started my page, I used to always say it used to drive me crazy when like I would comment on some, bigger names or anything like that, just kind of asking questions about what they thought about certain movements or anything like that. And they would never answer or anything along those lines. And I always said I wanted to make a commitment that wasn't going to happen with me, that I'm always going to try to talk to everybody, regardless of the situation or how big my account gets. And that is becoming harder and harder every single day. I love the fact that, I've got so many followers and enough people, believe in the information that I put out. However, it's becoming harder and harder. I miss comments and things of that nature. So I promise you, if you're watching this now, I am not trying to ignore you. Sometimes you might have to ask more than once or anything along those lines. But I want to help you guys as much as I can. I will try to keep commenting to as many people as I can. So let's kind of go through the day just a little bit. So I want to go back to what I tweeted out last night about the bearish engulfing candle. So typically, and that's 100% what we had. So typically, a bearish engulfing candle is not great, okay? It means you probably have more downside. Now, just like candlestick patterns are just like any other TA pattern out there. They are not a crystal ball of exactly what's going to happen. But 100% yesterday, what we had, the setup that we had, if you will, was a bearish engulfing candle. And that's what I tweeted out, and that's what I made in my video. I remember going back and circling it. However, that doesn't mean that's what has to play out. Also, just like I tweeted out, it was the only thing that gave me pause for concern. Other than that, I thought we would hang out in the range and everything along those lines. And, thankfully, it didn't play out. And so that also means today we have a bullish engulfing candle. And that doesn't guarantee us more upside tomorrow either. But it is still what happens. So what I do like about our bullish engulfing today is not only did we get the bullish engulfing, but we got the volume to go along with it. And typically, just like the example that I tweeted out, the fact that we got it on the bottom of a downtrend and where we've been consolidating is a very good sign. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Also, too, like I tweeted out, my buddy Robbie tweeted out the Ortex information for IWM. If you don't know, IWM is an ETF, and it is heavily shorted right now, and the utilization on it is very high. So it's over 50% shorted, and the utilization is almost at 100%. And that is just, in my opinion, not maintainable over a long period of time. And once again, IWM's largest holding is AMC. And so if we start getting some shorts covering when it comes to IWM, that is only going to help AMC. And if you look at IWM on a chart, it's pretty much been stuck in kind of the same range for, well, here, let's go pull it up. Yeah, so you can see right here pretty much from Jan 21 until now, it's pretty much traded flat, and now it's kind of broken down here just a little bit. So, and that saying is going to go back up, but it is, it broke down past its long-term support, started consolidating and starting to move back up. So if IWM, I would keep my eyes on it. If this ETF starts to really move back up, once again, that's only going to help us from an AMC standpoint. Now, go back to AMC. We'll get to everything here in just a second. So anyway, the utilization on AMC, the short interest keeps going up. The utilization keeps going up. The days to cover keep going up. All those things are going to be what we want to see. Once that utilization really starts getting up like into the 90 percentile or anything like that, that's, in my opinion, when we'll be able to like really start getting excited. We've got work to do up until then. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over here. Yeah, so let's jump into the chart. All right, I know this all looks real busy, so let me get rid of some stuff. We'll break it down and we'll go one at a time. So first thing that I want to talk about, you can get rid of the channel here, is going to be our long-term support trend. So the very first time I talked about it was right here on January the 25th when we came down and we had that nice solid reaction up. So then from that line, I started making just a bunch of different lines. Once again, looking for a good solid trend line. And then I noticed that from the bottom of the buy collapse and where it was providing 1, 2, 3 points of resistance, really 4 points of resistance, before we shot up in January. So hey, maybe that's where Trey got his fourth test is the charm thing right there. So as you can see, tested, rejected, tested, rejected, tested, big time rejection. Tested, boom, exploded through it. But so that was strong resistance right here, and then it turned into solid support from the buy button collapse. So once again, using just an extended line and drawing it out, I said I even have it labeled over here. I don't know if you can see this very well, but in my object tree, it's labeled as possible support. I am pretty much at the point ready to say, man, this is... It's not unbreakable, but it is a very solid support line. And I mean, it's backed up by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, basically 2 weeks worth of trading. Okay. Another thing that you can look at that's happening here is we're kind of starting to get a big old W like AMC likes so much. So we came here, 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 and then finishing off the W, might look something like that. I don't know. We'll see. As far as resistance goes, we have got to break out some levels. Okay, and let's take a look at some of those. So from a Fibonacci standpoint, like I've tweeted out a couple of times, so this 382, 1, 2, 3 times we have tested the 382. From the January run, okay, so from our all-time low, we are struggling to get over the 382. Right now, that currently sits roughly. Hold on, let me get in here. Let me make sure. Sorry, it drives me crazy when I don't have my lines like just almost spot on. Yeah. So perfect. So basically right at about $18, $18.52 range, right around in there. So that's going to be some resistance that we'll need to break out of. When you move that fib up to the buy button collapse, you can pretty much see that that kind of also turns into the 0.5 right at about that $19.50 range. So that's going to be the first, some of the first levels that I'm really looking to break out of. We've also got our wedges that we've been tracking. Okay, so we've got our descending wedges. Once again, this is a bullish reversal pattern. My favorite one has been the one from the all-time high. Dave Marino Jr. He likes to use this one right here. I think that's a great one as well. You get a nice touch point right here. So it's just my personal preference and opinion is I like this one right here. As I've talked about many times before, we have our all-time high, our big bear trend line from the all-time high. And like I said, we're going to need to be breaking that. And that's going to be right around, that kind of mid 20 level. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do for that. As far as our EMAs go, so to me, these are some of the most exciting ones, okay? So our exponential moving averages, the 20-day, which is going to be our first one to start recapturing, is going to be at $17.79 as of right now. But here's what's cool. So we've had moments where on the lower time frames, so let me get in here. I'll just kind of show you guys. So on the lower time frames, you can see we're already starting to recapture these, and you can see how the stock just trades around these, okay? And that's good because if you scroll back, we've had a lot of times when we had that big ramp up, we were above all of them. But we've been struggling to capture and hang on to them. So if you're watching more of the intraday price, that's definitely something that you can take a look at. Here's going to be what the 15-minute looks like. Man, I mean these are some good solid final candles. Let's see what the hourly looks like. Oh man, let me tell you, this hourly candle right here is a heck of a bullish candle. That's about as bullish as it gets when it is just a solid bar, and you can see it was backed up by that doji candle. When it's just a solid bar like that, it's really about as bullish as it gets candle-wise. But you can see right here, though, my friends, that it was rejected hard on the hourly off that 100-day moving average right there. So like I said, these are definitely going to be important things. They're going to be, big time, resistance and they're going to be support. So what I really liked though is look on the 4 hour, we're finally starting to, finally after so long, we are finally starting to recapture some of these. So once we start getting them on the 4 hour, then that's going to turn into, us recapturing them on the daily. And once again, your your more conventional, your non-squeeze players or anything along those lines, they are going to be the ones that, these would be the moves that the overall market will start seeing and start going, hey, AMC is going to be a play for a little bit. And that's what we want, obviously. So from as far as our visible range is concerned, come out here, let me go back to the daily chart. So this is what we really wanted to see. We really wanted to see all this heavily traded range acting as a solid floor for us, and now we can start moving back up. Look at this volume gap that is right here, all that $20 to $21 range, and then once again on up from there. I know if you've been watching my stuff, I apologize. Some of the stuff is going to be repetitive. If you're new, welcome to the channel. You guys know the deal. I should have said this at the beginning. Nothing I say is financial advice. I'm here for entertainment purposes only. If you find the video helpful, please like and subscribe. All right, did my part. Check. All right, so from the entire beginning of AMC, if you will, right where we were, where we bounced really hard, was our third biggest, trading floor, if you will. So it was very important for us to hold that area, and we did. and we're starting to see solid reversal patterns. And so that visible range is important. This is what I would always tweet out and go, if you're the composite man looking for, liquidity and everything like that, you're going to find way more going back out this way. So you're going to find way more going this way than you are going this way. Okay? So it was just getting to the point where it just didn't make any sense for AMC to have more downside. When we were up here, and now we fully distributed, and when we were up here and it was looking like accumulation, it was never that there wasn't a case to be made for the downside. It was just more likely that the case was made for the upside. You guys know the deal. I've talked about it before. I really think right here, if the overall market wouldn't have been so weak right up in here, and people were worried about raising rates and everything like that, that sell-off that happened, the market got its teeth kicked in along with AMC right in here, and that allowed them to pull us down a little bit more. I really think this would have been our turnaround spot had the overall market not been so awful during that time. So like I said, overall, Booksy, if you guys like fractals, follow Mr. Booksy on Twitter and especially his YouTube channel, which I actually, let me get back in here. I retweeted his most recent video today. He makes a great case for why, right here. So he makes a great case for why we could have a spring. Okay, I definitely think that's possible. If we see a spring, that spring is going to be right down here, probably into that $12 territory right here. And if that happens, relax, number one. But if that happens, I would love to see that be on just like super, super, super low volume. And then we see a big reaction to start moving back upwards. The more I look at it and I think about it and I really analyze it, the less likely I think that that's going to happen. However, I definitely still see the case for it. Okay. So like I said, I really like today that our bullish engulfing candle is on higher volume than when we pushed down. It wasn't great volume. It was like 50 million-ish. Yeah, 51 million. But it was above average. I think I saw today that AMC's average volume right now is like right around 42 million. So nothing great, but nothing to write home about. But it was, once again, anytime that green volume trumps the selling volume or pressure, that's what we want to see. One thing I should have said last night in my video, I pulled up the MACD and looked right at it and just missed it, so I apologize. But that while I said, this MACD is still solid green, what I didn't notice is yesterday, even though we had our 3% down day, this MACD line right here was still showing a divergence. So it didn't start curling back down. It was still curling up. And so that was kind of a hidden bullish divergence. And so that was my fault missing that. That was a real good sign. And so as you can see, right now, that MACD is not showing any signs of slowing down. Once we start, you can see right here, once we start to, curl over and start to get those lighter green bars, that's when we got to be ready for some more downside. And also too, when I say some more downside, I'm talking about like overall. There's always going to be downside every single day. But like I said, that indicator is looking good. Let me pull up OBV. We should have a nice little T. Look as you go, girl. As you go. We're getting a little W on the bottom right there. Starting to curl back up to the upside. Boom. What we want to see. RSI, already know. So we're starting to get back up here. Once again, we are nowhere near, right up here, pretty much around 50 is going to be your neutral territory. So we're even still below neutral. Plenty of room to run from an RSI standpoint. I would imagine some of those pullbacks we saw, let's go to the 15-minute. I'll bet we got, look at that. When we started pulling back because they got overcooked. All right. So RSI is definitely something. wait, if you're more of an intraday person, like why are we going down all of a sudden and freaking out? Number one, don't be that person. But number two, a good thing to watch for that is going to be the RSI. Okay, so anytime that RSI gets overcooked, it's naturally going to come back down. All right, it's just once again, I talk a lot about how think of your stock as a lung. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out, expanding, contracting. That's how a healthy stock moves. And we want this move out of here, at least to a certain point. Once again, I'm all good for, let's just wake up and everything's $1,000 a share and, we all rich. Okay. I'm good for that. But that is not likely. Somebody asked me today, I was like, do you think it's possible to like, it just happened? And it's like, well, yeah, it's possible. Is that even remotely the most likely thing? No, it's not even remotely most likely. So I would really like to see just we create this solid floor. We've kept that solid floor. I would be okay with some healthy moves back to the upside, and once again, those healthy moves back to the upside, which will get us to what I've always called the launch pad. All right, and that launch pad is going to be once we form a new sinus string. Excuse me. That is going to be what I'm looking for as far as that is concerned. So things look good. Last but not least, let's talk a little bit about options. Now, full disclosure, my friends, option is not my specialty. It is not what I do with my AMC purchases, if you will. You need to do whatever is best for you. My AMC purchases come down to shares bought on a lit exchange. When I say a lit exchange also too, by the way, if you don't want to be one of these people that's complaining about dark pools all the time and everything like that, buy on a lit exchange, okay? If you need help with how to do that, follow AMC Bigums on Twitter. He has a whole tutorial for virtually every single broker how you do it. I mean, for me with Fidelity, it's real easy. It's just basically I select which one it wants to go through, and I go through the IEX or the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange. Every single time I buy shares. Now, I didn't used to. Full disclosure, I didn't used to. I didn't realize the importance of it. AMC Bigums really taught me how important that was. And so buy on a lit exchange if you buy shares. But if you're an option player, I beg you and I plead with you, and it's your money, and I respect that, okay? But if you want to see gamma ramps happen like what we saw in January and June and everything along those lines, it is in the money, it is at the money, and it is barely out of the money options is what's going to do that for us. Shout out to Rico. He talked about how now every 50 cents, essentially, you can pick a new strike price. Okay, let's see how far this goes. All the way up to $25. So from $24.50 all the way down to where we're at right now, you can, every 50 cents is going to be little increments that you can do. So let's take a look at it. So we basically came firing out of the gate at 15.50 and 16,000. At $15, we had 6,200 contracts. And remember, 6,200 contracts means each contract is 100 shares, okay? So don't just see the 6,273 and go, well, that's not very many shares. No, that's times 100, okay? So that's like 627,000 shares, all right? At the next level, 1550, we had 5,500 contracts. The next level, $16, 6,800 contracts. 1650, 5,700 contracts. 17, 7,800 contracts. And these aren't like right home to your mama about numbers. Now, if we could get up here to this $20 level one, that 15,000, I mean, that's 1.5 million shares, all right? So now we're starting to get into some bigger numbers and some bigger shares that these market makers are really going to have to hedge for. And then if you do the option contracts, anybody who can exercise their contracts is going to help us out a ton. So I am not going to get too preachy on the contracts because, once again, I really don't ever feel like I should be too preachy on anything that I don't do myself. So what I don't and I already told you, I don't do options or anything along those lines. I think they're a great tool. If you don't have a lot of capital and liquidity, it's a great tool to essentially leverage 100 shares without actually having to have the money for 100 shares. So I totally see why people do those. It's just, you're fighting time when it comes to that. And so, like I said, for me, like I always tell Dave and Rico and all them who are talking to me about options, I'm like, picking the time, I have no problem. I'm more than capable of knowing what strike price I would want to do things at and everything like that. It's always like how far out you go with them or anything along those lines. That's what's always the stressful thing for me. But the way, once again, so I skip that. Full disclosure, I skip that. I buy the shares on a lit exchange, and so that way, all I got is time. When you play options, you can make more money, but you're fighting time heavily. So if you're an option player and you want to see a big gamma ramp or anything like that, please, I implore you, about $1 to $3 out of the money. At the money is great, and then of course in the money is fantastic. Now obviously the more in the money you go or at the money you go, the more expensive each contract gets, yada 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 yada. If you don't know and understand that, please don't do options. I'm begging you, you're only going to go broke that way. You're better off to buy shares if you have no idea what I was just talking about. So I say all that to say we have got not a massive one, but a little gamma ramp going on here. And then yeah, I don't see $25 happening or anything along those lines, but there is, let's get down here. Let's see what puts are looking like. Oh man. Yeah, if we could start getting some of these puts out of the money. So at 17, there's 10,785. At 18, there's 11,445. And 19, I mean, if we can start getting up towards 20, we can make some things happen. All right, so definitely keep an eye on the option chain and what is going on there. Even if you're like me and you buy shares, I'm going to be closely watching what's going on in the option chain, because the option chain is what creates the gamma. All right, and gamma makes you and it makes me very happy. All right. Last but not least, my friends, Gary Gensler is going to be speaking tomorrow. I'll be honest, I have no idea what time. All right. I am cautiously optimistic about what he's going to say. I mean, it's just like I've said before in previous videos, Gary gives me when I do watch his interviews, and I was watching something today and I was like, he at least gives me the vibe that he is trying to help retail. Okay. He's only one man, and I mean, any type of changes are going to be hard to do. I saw today, I think AMC Bigums was talking about how the pawn shop rule for, let me look him up real quick. Once again, if you don't already follow him, follow this guy right here. His behind the scenes stuff that he does and the DD that he does on it is just phenomenal. But essentially what it's going to be is the rule that we want, this the NSCC 2021-01, basically the pawn shop rule. If you don't know what that is, highly recommend doing it. It's essentially basically how the government would take over in case a forced liquidation would happen and everything along those lines. But we've been waiting for this rule to go into effect, and now it looks like it's being pushed out to April the 8th. Okay, so when Gary talks tomorrow, what I'm hoping for is, right now we have T+2 settlement days, which essentially it takes 2 days for shares to get transferred. We want to reduce that. Honestly, how we don't have T0 is beyond me. So we want everything to get settled faster. We want our shares faster, rather than how long it takes for money to actually exchange hand versus what the price is. Also, too, we got a lot of FTDs that are going to be coming in, and there's a lot of speculation that those are already starting to hit the market today. Once again, my boy Robbie Brown, he kind of talked a little bit about those as well. So there's a lot of really good, super intelligent people to follow in this play, my friends. I'll actually put a list together of everybody that I really like. If you are following somebody who is always letting you down with rocket emojis and the squeezes today, or there's going to be something explosive happening, or if they're zooming in on like the 1 minute chart, which shows a much bigger green bar candle or anything like that, I can't recommend enough for you to not follow that person. Okay, because this play is going to be mentally hard enough with people like that wearing on you and getting you excited, and then things don't happen or anything along those lines. I believe, okay, and I do think we are seeing the reversal begin. Like I said in last night's video, I think we will look back on this time and moment, and this is just my personal, speculative, non-financial advice opinion, that we will look back and go, dang, I should have loaded the boat there more. Now, full disclosure, I have loaded the boat. Okay, I am all in on my swing account when it comes to AMC and everything along those lines. So you don't have to. I'm just a dude on the internet, okay, who's taking up too much of your time on this video. But like I said, I think there's a big storm coming. I'll put it that way. I do. All right. When it gets here, I'm not sure. We'll see things starting to happen mechanically in the market and everything like that to let us know. So I'm going to be cautiously optimistic about what Gary has to say. I'm cautiously optimistic about a bullish engulfing candle with higher volume. I am cautiously optimistic about the IWM and how short it is and how high the utilization is. I am cautiously optimistic about days to cover going up, short interest going up, utilization going up on AMC. There's just so much to be excited about. Once again, I can't say it enough. Way more reasons for upside than downside. But it's gonna be fun, one way or the other, man. I'm glad I'm on this ride with you guys. Most of you make it worth it. Some of you are freaking anchors, but it is what it is. You gotta take the good with the bad. Much love, everybody. Stay close to shore. Don't get too crazy. No matter what happens, good, bad, ugly, stay calm. When you learn how to stay comfortable in uncomfortable moments, then nobody and no thing has power over you. And that's what I want. I want you to become more educated, so nobody, not Gary Gensler, not the U.S. stock market, not Colin, not anybody ever has power over you, because you are strong here. And when you are strong mentally, there's nothing in this world that you can't do. If you are mentally weak, there's nothing in this world that you can do. So stay strong or get strong, and I will see you tomorrow. Y'all be good.